Hello and welcome to Eat Your Backyard, my YouTube channel, where I bring you with me into my little food forest here in Florida, merely blocks from the Atlantic Ocean. I'm in Zone 10A, which is a nice warm place to be today, February. It is both warm and sunny, and I feel quite good. Made a number of modifications in the yard over the last year or so, and today we're just going to do a live stream with the community, and I'll show you some of the updates. We had a recent frostiness come our way. It actually, I think, got down to about 35 degrees here. It did freeze on the other side of the large river we have here, lagoon, landside we call it. It did freeze there and many other places in Central Florida. Hey, Stiegelman Family Farm, good to see you on the stream. Shaka. But luckily we didn't get a freeze here, but it was enough to knock the wind out of many plants in my yard. I'm actually going to be doing a live stream tomorrow where I talk about what to do after a freeze, following a freeze, and if you live in a place where you don't get freezes a lot, you know, like where I am, or most of Florida perhaps, you can really be set back by that event pretty severely, and there's some good ways to handle it. We'll talk about that tomorrow, so I hope to see you back for tomorrow's Sunday coffee chat. By the way, before I get too far into the stream, I'm just going to say, if you aren't already, please subscribe to Eat Your Backyard. It's so easy. Just click the little you know, that thing, and then you'll be notified as the live streams occur, because many times I do these live streams on an impromptu basis. I just start them. I haven't done one in quite a while because I've been rather busy doing a number of things. Watching the Buccaneers not make it to the Super Bowl, that was one thing. And many other things. But, you know, it's also been cold, so I haven't been real motivated to be in the backyard doing much, but I still am out here every day, you know, maintaining everything. Now, if you'd like to support the channel, the best way is just use the links in the description of any of the Eat Your Backyard videos to go to Amazon anytime you use Amazon. If you don't use Amazon, I totally get it. Best way to support is just to show up. Leave some comments. That's really all I expect. I don't even expect that. Don't need to leave a comment. But look at this situation, you know, and I've been watching live streams. Now, by the way, I don't know if anybody on the stream has been watching the situation up in Canada, but wow, it's pretty intense, I would say, in the sense that, you know, the trucker convoys and so on and so forth restricting a lot of movement in Canada and protesting peacefully. I'm under the impression, you know, the reason I feel comfortable saying that is because there are literally dozens of live streams occurring 24 hours a day that are streaming live every part of that. So that's what I mean when watching what's going on in Canada. I don't mean like watching on some network news situation. I mean watching all the live streams as they occur. And one thing that occurs to me is, wow, the Canadians just seem so incredibly well mannered and nice. Every stream they're walking around and everybody's kind of, it looks like they're dancing, having a good time, kind of, you know, expressing their views and so on and so forth, but in a peaceful way. So it's really cool to watch. I was watching it this afternoon, and there was a herd of horse-mounted folks that came in. It's really kind of inspiring to see people come together and be so cool. But, you know, on the other side of that whole thing, and I've thought of this quite a bit, is those trucks are not rolling. And this is one of many reasons why those trucks might not be rolling. Food trucks. I'm talking about the trucks that bring us everything we need food-wise. And, you know, I'm not trying to be like a prepper. Shout out to David the Good. But, you know, a little bit of that in everybody, I would say. And an ability to provide yourself some amount of food, that's a good thing. And it's really easy. And that's the main point of this channel, is to share these kinds of very easy things to do with you. I'm in the process, like I said, of revamping my whole yard to be a very high functioning system. That means to have the soil health right, to have the systems in place that feed everything, to make more or less a closed system. Here, you can see part of that system evident. Those are my 2 large compost bins. I've got a worm farm in there, chicken coop here, and 2 bunnies here. Now, those components alone produce an incredible output of food. That's 5 eggs a day. Eggs are the perfect superfood. So easy. You know what chickens eat? Well, one of the things they eat is just like food waste. They're so easy to deal with, so easy to care with, such fun little pets. Look at this little Tyrannosaurus Rex. Look at that sweet little hen. She's watching every move I make. Hello. Yeah, very sweet. And of course ours are a lot like pets. They will come when they're called. They're very gentle. They don't make much noise. When they're laying an egg, they're proud of it, so who can blame them for getting a little noisy, clucking the announcement of the egg. Outside of that, they're pretty easy to deal with. And it also gave me the opportunity to build this cool little hen house. Built that. Of course, the cost of lumber was quadrupled by the time I built it, so it wasn't a cheap hen house, but I'm enjoying the design of it. It's been highly functional. And there are a lot of eggs in there. Now, the bunny run, let's do an update on that. How are we doing? We got a bunny on the loose. No. She's not on the loose. Now, by the way, sometimes my signal cuts out. If it does, I'll enter the area where I get it again. I go on cell tower connection with these live streams so that I don't get cut off from my router, but sometimes when I go under power lines, it cuts off. So if it does, I'll come back momentarily. How you doing, Penelope? Penelope is a lion head rabbit. And as rabbits go, I'm going to say top shelf rabbit. So incredibly gentle. Now these rabbits as well just have an incredible life. See the fur on her cheeks? And she's got the around her head. That's why they call them lion heads. So cute. Boop. Just chilling. And then her brother Thumper is right here. He's already out. He was out all morning. I want to see if his little paws clean. Yeah. Looks like his paws are clean. He was dirty from digging. He dug a hole this morning. So I think we let them dig holes. We typically fill them up or sometimes jam a stick in there to discourage a too deep of one, but yeah, see all this dirt here? See that? That's a rabbit hole. Thumper dug that this morning. And this is about a week's worth of rabbit holes. That's a little rabbit hole. Hey, Camel who likes Coke. Good to see you, as usual. Good to see you from sunny Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. It's been a while, yeah. I've been slacking on the live streams just because I've had so many things going on, but I want to give you an update. Now look at this. Slacking on the bunny turd collection too. That is an entire bucket filled with bunny manure and remnants of the sugarcane bits. Hey Dan, Permaculture Food Forest, good to see you on the live stream. Good day to you too, sir. That, my friends, is the key to everything in this yard. Absolutely. And I'll put it next to what I consider to be an absolute dud of an attempt at a system in my yard, which is this, I'm going to call it a stupid mosquito catcher. Although it barely caught any mosquitoes in the long run. This Dynatrap. Hey, John Lopez. Greetings from San Jose, California. Awesome. But yeah, this thing is a turd. I didn't like it. At least in Florida, you know, I guess you could catch. Oh, not Myrtle. Oh, okay. Fort Mill. All right. Sorry about that. But yeah, the mosquito catcher, largely a failure. But the turd catcher's largely a success because those bunnies just produce so much turds. You can see it's intermixed with all these sugarcane pieces. That's what we feed them for hay, mostly. Gerald Franz, the Gerald Franz. A loyal and trustworthy viewer. Greetings, sir. Welcome. Welcome. I've got to spread this delicious potion out in the yard, but as you can see, you know, it got a little wet. That's fine, really. But look at that, the perfect manure. You think we'd be looking at turds in a shovel? Well, if that's the kind of thing you're into, I guess you're in the right place. But you can see there's even like creepy crawlies in there, critters. That's not bad. This becomes a witch's brew of all sorts of bacterias and nutrients and yuck, which all the plants are going to absolutely love. So I need to get that down ASAP. Need to get it down because that is the fuel for everything. And here's what I mean: it's the fuel for everything. If you put down the rabbit turds, you got the cold manure. What I mean is you can put it directly onto the ground around plants. You don't have to compost it. You don't mess with it. Now, viewers of Eat Your Backyard, by the way, all 28,000 of you, thank you. Yeah, you know that I've talked a lot about bunny manure, but I feel an obligation that it's such a key part of the engine that I like to just emphasize it, and I'm so grateful for it every day. I never get tired of talking about it. But the bunny manure is what provides the nutrients in a cold fashion, so you can put it straight on the around plants, no problem, directly. It's actually in that small little, you know, this is broken down and when it's gotten wet, but when it's in its turd original form, it's very easy to spread as like a lawn fertilizer. I've been using it for. It turbocharges with nutrients, so much better than cow manure, so much better than horse manure. It's really on par with the best animal fertilizers. It adds the animal component to your backyard, which is critical. It's been a game changer for me. Okay, now once you do that, you start to see things happen, which indicate soil health. And I've got a great new video, by the way, plug time. Great new video that I'm getting ready to release. Oh, we have an escapee on soil health and indicators of that. One of the things, soil health indicators, is fungus, believe it or not. But yeah, fungus, big role, plays a big role. No way. Yes, I have recommendation for rabbits, Dan Permaculture Food Forest, but it would depend on how much. Ooh, I need to dump this. This is my chick incubator that turned into a rain catcher that's now turned into a broken Tupperware thing that for some reason I haven't thrown away. But soil health, yeah, look at this. See that? That's called a turkey tail mushroom. It's a fungus. It's a mushroom. And it's actually, they call it a versicolor because this mushroom will turn many different colors. Fascinating stuff. But anyway, you see it in the video that I'm going to release here this week on soil health and fungus. But I'm seeing things like fungus growing everywhere, like bacteria and bugs and critters alive everywhere, like the worms, etc. But once you have the bunny turds in there, you provide the food for the worms and the bugs and the fungus. And if you're also putting down wood matter all the time, which I am now, I'm putting wood just down on the ground. Like that's a good example of it. That's a piece of mango. I just buried it in the ground and there you go, fungus. You can see already turning it into stuff that the soil can use. All of that brings in the worms then aerate the soil, right? But all the systems that you need start to connect. They start to fuse up, and this is the glue. Bunny turds. Bunny turds. So, yeah, that's gold. Yeah, I think it would work just about anywhere to get the bunny manure into that garden. Look at this. We got the one chickens. They still can fly over even a 6-foot thing because they've learned how to kind of fly run up the fence a bit on areas that aren't exactly vertical. Well, it's not too bad having 1 or 2 chickens, and these little hens are so adorable. Let's see if she. Are you gonna run away? Oh, she's gonna run away. She's our most independent hen. Now look at this area. Let's explore this. Where are we at? Well, I haven't been able to come to terms with taking any action on my oak tree in my front yard. I have a massive live oak tree in my front yard that I've trimmed over the years, and you know, it's just so big and so much to deal with that I struggled with what to do because I don't want to get hurt doing it. That's really the bottom line. It's very easy to, and I've done it many times with that thing. So I'm taking it slow and I'm just moving that into the system. I'm just digesting the oak tree. One of the things I digest are these oak logs. So some of them I'll make and I'll dry for firewood. Smoke on oak, best firewood I know of around here. Another thing is I'll cut out some pieces of it because, you know, this is like waterproof, crazy hardwood. I'll take out some of it like this. I'll snip off the outside. I'll dry it in the garage, and I'll use that for stakes for plants. So, but you got to find the straight ones for that. Some of it I might use just to chop into into smaller pieces and lay on the ground. Just, and I mean literally half bury and just lay throughout the garden, maybe even bury in holes around the yard to decay moving forward, the whole fungus and soil health thing. And now the other thing is, if I lay them here and I stage them here, this is something I saw David the Good, I guess, does as well, but if you lay them down here, great permaculture practice, they'll shed their leaves over time, and you'll see some trees do this, some don't, but with this one, they basically will drop the leaves pretty readily. And then you just, when you pull away the sticks, you have this pile of leaf matter you can just simply rake up. I can then put it inside my composting bins, or I can move it back into the hen run. I have a fairly decent sized area where the hens run and are all day. You can see them back in there. I think that helps their contentedness as well. You want calm hens, you don't want noisy hens. That's what I mean. But yeah, so I'm slowly doing that, and I'll move it back, branch by branch, and just take my time, very concerted, very purposeful cuts on that oak tree, so that this one was probably about 400 pounds of material that I took down in one branch, and it wasn't even that big of a branch. But these are the skinny branches, and then here is one of the limbs, which you wouldn't believe how incredibly strong this is, but this is something like steel, but and flexible too. And I've placed it here because I'm going to use it, I'm going to incorporate it in as an edge. And so I'm using a lot of these as just edges to the garden. Now, most wood wouldn't work like that because it would just break down so quickly. Oak, a little different. If you take the bark off, it actually will degrade much slower. But plus, I like the look of it. It's eclectic, but yeah, I like a nice mix, the yin and the yang, so to speak, of a little of that and a little of the other, find the balance. But you can see that here's some logs that I've used that same approach. This is certainly not a done thing at all. It was just put there as a functional. But yeah, I'll find the perfect oak limb, large one, to come around this way. And my final situation here will be a beautiful flowing natural oak limb, and it'll flow however it flows. But the oak limbs are really great for that. So I don't want to lose it. Like I had a bunch of people come over, a few different people give me estimates on trimming it. And the estimates on trimming the oak tree ranged from $5,000 to $800. That was the range. And I was like, I don't even want to pay $800 for it, really, because I didn't really 100% like any of their plans for what they were going to trim, because you kind of, if you're trimming oak trees, you kind of got to trim a decent amount of oak tree to make any money. Anyway, I have a very specific thing. So what I'm going to end up doing is, once there are parts of this oak tree that I'll need a heavy duty chainsaw and some kind of expertise to deal with, those parts I'm going to hire somebody to come over and do, so that the most dangerous parts, the parts that I'm truly not equipped to handle, get handled. And then I'll probably keep those pieces, so I'll just hire somebody to come over, simply perform a couple cuts and leave them there. It's somebody insured for sure. But until then, I'll be digesting it into the yard. And this is a good example of it. Now, another update, my dwarf Malay coconut trees. Look at this beauty. Look at this beauty. I like the dwarf Malay coconut for a few key reasons. Now, as we're here, it's too windy. Let me know if the wind is affecting this, but the audio too much. But I did remove, this had gone all the way up and touched this new fiber optics cable that we just recently had installed back here. The whole neighborhood's got it. It had gone all the way up to there. It actually was just below that coaxial cable line there, but it was almost touching that. But then when they put this, it was actually running through it to some extent. So I actually brought it down, which was a huge move for me. I felt very nervous about it, because this is what prevents all that salt spray from the ocean from breaching in and destroying my whole yard, which the salt spray will absolutely destroy certain parts of my yard. We get a lot of flow here. I'm not far from the ocean, so you got to realize I'm kind of like in a glorified sand dune where I'm at. But I removed that recently, so I have the flow coming through, which is why it could be windy here. But that's also why now we have sunlight where there never was sunlight. So things that had not gotten sunlight, which caused all this grass die off, and I'm not a grass crazy person, meaning I don't go too nuts trying to maintain it. It will start to regrow in the spring. It absolutely will, so it's exciting. But the reason I like this dwarf Malay coconut, and I have now 4 of them in my yard, 3 are in the front yard, is that the Malay coconut, dwarf Malay, will produce coconuts very quickly in terms of the number of years it takes after you plant them. So you can expect a coconut tree like this to give you some coconuts within the first 2 years of planting it. Now that's a good number. And also, you can expect the altitude of coconut picking to be acceptable. It will be at a level where you won't have to have a very dangerous scenario to get to them, or you have to worry about it dropping down like a bomb, like a 10-pound bomb from 30 feet above you, which in many coconut trees can become that eventually. Ooh, chicken got a little feisty. Interesting. Wonder what that was. Chicken detectors. So this one's doing well. Although I did release 2 videos on the neem, my attempt to use neem to solve its mealybug infestation, and I will tell you, you know, if you watch those, you'll see it didn't really work. Still got that stuff all over it. So I got the pure neem oil, and I'm going to make a much more concentrated form of it to solve this problem, but I have not yet solved it. I don't want to let this fly problem become a much wider problem on this plant. I also saw some spiraling whitefly. I think I might have solved the spiraling whitefly. However, the mealybug, that white mealybug you saw, is obviously still there, and going to be getting rid of that here soon. I'm going to also have a video on that, which will be like video 3 on my neem oil to help the coconut tree, because I want a good fruit production here. I don't want anything stressing it like that. And I had a yellow Malay coconut years ago, and it was just a championship producer, and I know this will be just the same if I treat it the way it needs to be treated. Of course, what's going to go around the base of it today? Bunny manure. We can continue to see that kind of growth. I love the palm tree up against the blue cerulean sky. Hey there. Beautiful chickens. They're so incredibly healthy, and the reason really is that, you know, they're in a situation where they get to naturally forage all the time. They have wide spaces to operate. They get, every morning I give them scratch grains. They got that in their diet, which makes their eggs omega-3 flax eggs too, by the way, which make them super nutritious. They have lots of black soldier fly larvae. By the way, shout out to Grub Terra, who provides those for me. Go ahead, check them out. A cool company up in New Jersey. They got a cool mission. They make baking these black fly soldier larvae all the time, and these chickens would like nothing more than to eat some of those. They freak out for the fact if you have black fly soldier larvae around chickens, you have nothing else on their mind. John Lopez asks, would pickleweed do well in your area? Geez, I'm not sure. I haven't encountered that before, so I'm not sure. Let's see here if I can. Oops. Cancel. Sorry, trying to get the chat up. So Camel says, I heard some got damaged last week by the cold. Yeah, we did get a decent amount of cold here last week. Like I said, it did get down to 35 degrees. And I'll show you the evidence of that. My newest banana grove, which is another dwarf banana grove. The reason I like to use some dwarf varieties is because I can pack in the fruit without having to sacrifice the height, which will ultimately result in shade. And shade is the enemy of many things I want to grow. Okay, so what does a brand new banana leaf look like? Well, here's one that just sprouted. And classic thing. Looks actually perfectly healthy. When they get burned, they do look a little bit like this. And you know it's not just normal growth, because normal deterioration, because if it was, it would turn yellow first. So, you know, the normal thing is it turns yellow, then turns brown. But this thing is it's green and it's got the brown. But that's how you can see the burn. And it's the tenderest, most tender spots that get burned, right along the edges. See that? And it'll get these black spots, kind of almost like a banana in your counter that gets aged. It gets those spots. But you can see the telltale signs of the burn, and I'll give you some tips on what to do after this. But you know, I'd say the worst thing you can do is to start heavily pruning it, fertilizing it, etc. So, long story short, really the best thing to do is to wait for all threat of frost to pass, and provide it with lots of the things it needs to flourish post-freeze event. Pre-freeze event, there's a lot of things you can do. My best advice is light bulbs under metal. I mean, I'm sorry, metal. Yeah, under plastic sheeting. You know, if you're gonna put plastic sheets over things and keep it warm under there with light bulbs or some like non-flammable LED, yeah, something that, not LED, something that is incandescent, hot light bulb that's not gonna start a fire. I don't do it. I don't do any of it. I don't protect them with any kind of light bulbs, heat, sheeting, anything. And you know, I have neighbors that do, and I get it. I know people who build small houses around, small temporary greenhouses around their mango trees, landside here. I get it. I'm not doing it, but I live in a place where I'm hopefully geographically usually not going to encounter that. But I just kind of try to rebound afterwards, and so that's what I'm going to share with you, is the rebound afterwards. You can see my coconut, I'm sorry, get my word straight here, my pineapple, vertical pineapple tower is continuing to thrive. I have 2 spots left, but I don't want to get rid of this yet. This is a red beet, right? So these leaves, the animals absolutely love, so I don't want to get rid of it yet. But that's going to be another pineapple plant. And I got one more space here, which is the carrots. We love to feed the bunnies the carrots. This was a good carrot tower at first. We do a lot of miniature carrots for the bunnies. There's nothing they love more. Of course, the chickens love the carrots too. I mean, that's one of their favorite things. But another use of a small, it's another system that's used in a small space to optimize what you can do here. Pickleweed like salt environment. Oh, I think I know what you mean by pickleweed, John Lopez. Is that what, maybe they call it iceberg plant? Do they call it iceberg? Does it have very geometric? It's like a succulent. It runs in a running pattern. It grows on sandy. You can grow on sand dunes and stuff, like in California. Is that pickleweed? Anyway, yeah, using these compact vertical growth situations for plants is making a lot of sense for me. I learned this from Funky Chicken Farm over in Palm Bay. By the way, if you're looking to get rabbits in Florida, that's where I get mine. Funky Chicken Farms. Go over and say hi to Suzanne and her husband. They also have some exotic breeds of hens and so on. I'll also tell you that's where Mr. Rooster went. Our rooster went over to Funky Chickens. Had to send the rooster to the farm. Oh, pickleweed sells for $10 a pound. Wow. That's fascinating. I'm going to check that out. I appreciate the heads up on that. This year I added a few new things to my yard to diversify, broaden my plants, see if I can get more higher yield, higher production things, and I sure did. I added specifically pigeon pea, red roselle, and drumstick tree. Those three things really increased my yield dramatically, and also expanded a lot of things I've been getting high yield from, like blackberry, mulberries. All right, so you can see these little sprouts all suffered burn. These are roselle sprouts. This is my little grow table. I did a series called What You Got Growing On if you want to watch it, but I might do it again this year. Let me know if you're interested in that kind of thing. But it's kind of in a state where I'm growing things I need. Meaning I'm going to be planting red roselle again, so I've got a number of these getting ready. They really got smacked by that cold weather, burned off a lot of their leaves, but I grew enough that, you know, I can rebound from that. Here's the moringa, that drumstick tree that I told you about. It's grown quite well. I've got a number of those. Tamarinds. Gumble Breath. Lake Placid, beautiful Lake Placid, Florida. In your own garden. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, a lot of good things to grow in Lake Placid, Florida. Oranges, not the least of which. Oranges are a little challenged here. I've got a lemon tree here, but you can see it's not a championship lemon tree. It's suffering from salt. salt and citrus, not really friends. But I still managed to persevere a bit. These are pigeon peas. Now that I have pigeon peas, I will never not have pigeon peas, meaning that I harvested and cured the seeds, according to a, by the way, I'll mention David the Good again, according to a David the Good how to store seeds video. If you're looking to store seeds, I would just refer you to that. That was absolutely outstanding. Well, anyway, I use that technique, which is just to say, basically, you know, you harvest the peas, seeds, you let them, you know, when they're fully ripe on the plant, you let them kind of cure in the pot or container itself, and then you plant them. So I did that, and that does quite well. Also makes them quite easy to store, especially if you put them in a, you know, a bag that does not let light or air in. Anyway, so I got the pigeon peas. I'm gonna definitely plant a bunch more of those. Now I have this, we call it chicken weed, and this stuff grows all over, but man, this has been an awesome natural vegetable. I don't do anything to, like, I'll just do this a little bit, like maybe, you know, let some of the seeds fall out of it into other pots, but this stuff grows readily, and the chickens absolutely love it. When I see it, I get excited because I know how much those little hens are gonna love it. Plants are incredibly cheap, never going back to Rhode Island. Yeah, I'll tell you, Gumble Breath, I love Rhode Island. Providence, little Compton area, even Newport, but no, doesn't hold a much of a competition with the weather here, that's for sure. The cost of living probably as well. Here's now this is a moringa tree that I grew from a cutting, and it grows quite easily from a cutting, by the way, but it's a good example of when you grow, it's not as, it doesn't look like it's as and I read this would happen, it's not as vigorous a grower as if you were to grow from seed. Now the ones who grow from seed just shoot up. I mean, they're no doubt every bit of 6 feet tall in a year from a seed. These I think are much slower, but you know, typically that's the situation with fruit trees and cuttings I found, but I'm sure it's not always the case, but that, you know, it will grow much less vigorously from a cutting than from a seed. This is a Montingia tree that grew from a seed, and it is just shooting up, getting annihilated by the winds. As you can see up top, it just starts to get shredded, anything tender, shredded. But we accept that burnage. Oh no, Penelope's, no, yeah, the gate's closed. Penelope's out. You got
no, don't let her go back there. No.
Hey, Peter Sauls. Yeah, we got animal escapes. I'm gonna go feed these chickens. My daughter just came out. But it looks like we got an escaped rabbit. Oh look, but the chicken will follow me. Come on, chicken. Yeah, chick.
No.
Oh, look at the chicken. Chicken jumped up and ate it out of my hand. I was holding. There you go, special treat just for you. The lucky chicken. Okay, so Peter Sauls, quick question. Dwarf Buddha belly seem to be suffering from, oops, sorry. I don't know why I have such a hard time operating this thing.
Get up.
Okay, I'm back.
Look at her.
Where's Penelope? Oh, I'm gonna get back there, Peter Sauls. Hold on one sec. We got a runaway rabbit. Come on, Penelope. Yeah, you see that, how they stretch out? Oh, Rhode Island Red. Yeah, that's right. The classic Rhode Island Red. You know those golden sex-link chickens that I had are a blend of a Rhode Island Red and a Rhode Island Dwarf White chicken to make the golden sex-link chicken, which will be golden if it's a hen. Nobody wants to know what I know about chickens, but I do know that about chickens. Okay, Penelope is back in our very complex rain collection system. Penelope, go back in the cage. Go on. There you go. It's a happy ending. Way to go, Jess. Or who let the rabbits out? Okay. Let's get back to the question. Oh yeah, your Buddha belly is being sprayed by your neighbor's sprinkler system. I'm guessing the sprinkler system has a lot of salt in it, Peter. The plants are 3 years old. We've never had a problem before. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Any ideas? The leaves fall off, the water hits it. Yeah, yep, exactly. I can absolutely 100% say that I've experienced that scenario with many different plants where the sprinkler water just absolutely destroys it. And it's usually my sprinkler system that is absolutely destroying it, as opposed to my neighbors. But oh gosh, I didn't realize that these have been so. These are more drumstick trees that got fried by that coldness. They'll come back. What I do is I'll say there's only really 2 things I know of, and there's nothing. Okay, I'll say 3. If you want to try to mitigate it, yeah, it's a cumulative effect of oh, okay, that's an interesting fact that actually plays into what I was going to say first, which is that there's a few things I would think of here. If it's taken a few years to cause the problem, then maybe it's not so much that you can't rinse it off, and that's what some people do, and that will work. It just takes constant effort to wash the salt off the leaves physically. You know, if you have, like I do, I have my hose on the side of my house actually comes out of the well, so I can wash them off with the well water. The problem is that water has chlorine in it, right? Because it's public drinking water. So anyway, and fluoride or whatever. The point is that, you know, that might freak the plant out. So if you have pure water to spray on, or you have some kind of water catchment system, like you saw, I just have those buckets. You could just go throw a bucket of water on it occasionally. That'd probably help a lot if you did it regularly, if it takes a long time for the problem to happen. Otherwise, I think the solution is to shield it from the spray, and I've done that in 2 ways. I've built things to not allow it. I've planted things in the way so it blocks it from being shielded that can take the salt spray, like a sacrificial layer. The other thing was just to physically move it and know when that thing's going down hard, because I found with the salt poisoning scenario, you know, you start to see the phase, you start to see it happen, and the next thing you know, it is just going downhill fast, and if you don't get it out, it can just go to a deadness in no time. I had a grapefruit tree, which I've had good luck growing grapefruit trees in various parts, in one part of this yard that didn't get hit by the sprinklers. And then I put one in another part of my yard, and it was almost killed in the matter of 3 or 4 months. I finally pulled it because I was like, you know what, it's gonna go down. This lemon tree was a perfect example of that. It was on the edge of death in a place I'd planted. Actually, now that I think about it, right over here where that grapefruit tree had also struggled, which got hit by that sprinkler right there, and then one over here. So it was like hit with a lot, and this one. So it just got pummeled. And I moved it over here where it gets no sprinkler. You can see because there's no grass too. That indicates it's not getting sprinkled. And it survived. It clung to life. But despite the fact that it not thriving here, it could just cling to life barely with the amount of salt it's getting. Now that grapefruit tree, I dug up and I put it in what I call here the plant emergency room, just like where plants go to just barely survive. Here is that grapefruit tree. Now it's still not doing great. Get it? Grapefruit tree. But it is surviving and it's grown back. It looks 100% better, believe it or not, than it did in the ground there, because it was about ready to go down. It was done living. Here's another one that is a soursop. I purchased 2 soursops. We did a bunch of live streams and videos on them when I first got them. Purchased 2, put them in different areas of the yard. Well, this one died hard. You can see there's nothing to that left, but the other one is still in the ground. It's doing well. Now it's in a place where it doesn't get hit with salt spray. That one got hit with a lot of salt spray and it died. So, you know, I suppose the moral of that story really is that if you don't move it soon enough, you might lose the whole thing. You know, anyway, that's my thoughts. Here's the other soursop that I planted that was actually doing well and was sprouting and had rebounded from the being planted, and the amount of salt it was getting was not too much, I could tell here, and it had new growth on it, and then that cold snap came and it now looks like it's about dead. I don't know, but I could see it's still got greenness in the sprouts, so it's probably going to come back. But this was not the salt. This was survived the salt and then got schwacked by the cold weather. This one was about that I had actually right there that I had planted. I showed you dead, that soursop. That one was 100% salt assassination. What did the Romans do? Pop quiz. Stream community. What did the Romans do when they wanted to prevent their enemies from growing food? They would salt the fields. And yeah, so it's just a toxic stuff so that they couldn't grow for food. Yeah, salt is fertile one. It's, you know, of course, made to remove water from things, or it's not that what you want. But look what I planted where, and this is a good example of one of the things I like to think about back here, which is this is where that dead soursop had been. Right? It was in close proximity to that little sneaky guy. It's a sprinkler. And to a sprinkler right over there, not much farther distance from this. And it died. I moved it, planted things which do work there. You know, which is to say, we've got, oh, the chicken's getting into trouble. Got a dwarf fig tree, which is fine. It has no leaves. It's fine with the cold weather. It's just dormant. And then a mulberry tree. Bam, mulberry tree, which has a mulberry. Eat your backyard. Time to eat it. That's a sweet little mulberry. Now you can eat these when they're black. You can eat them when they're red. Red's more tart. Black's more sweet. Mulberry's an all-time rock star of the yard. I have many videos on it. Check them out if you're interested. But I have two varieties of mulberry now, which are the everbearing, and the other one is the, oh my God, forget the name of the other mulberry tree, Persian. And there's a number of others I want to get, like the Pakistani mulberry and a couple others, but they're really successful, even despite the salt. They can do it. How do you know? Well, it can grow here. But it too does not love the salt and will suffer a fair amount. But definitely looks like it's going to thrive right through in its current location. I planted a lot more mulberries from cuttings. What I do is when it's about to rain heavily, I will come out and get trim cuttings and plant them so that it gets kind of naturally watered and has a shady place to start, meaning with the clouds. Here's one of them. I use these Miracle-Gro fiberglass poles to hold them up. I really find those are the best way to stake plants, trees. But I tie them up with like grafting tape, cellophane type tape. But you can see this one's doing well too. And here's another one. Sorry, I had the chat go by, then I didn't. Bobert Chronos. My problem is I study every plant that happens to pop in my yard, and many are edible weeds. Yeah, isn't that interesting? So trying to bring myself to weed is difficult because I like them all. Yeah, why would we weed much other than, you know, I would say my function now, it's converted over the last year, my function for weeds in the back, what I used to call weeds, I don't know if I even have any weeds in my yard anymore. I wouldn't necessarily call anything a weed. What I mean is anything I thought of as a weed is something now I have a use for. That's what like this simple permaculture setup back here has really gotten me the most, is that everything is useful. And it was already useful, I just didn't see it. So like that chicken weed, I said, you know, any weed I see, there's nothing that grows in my backyard naturally, and there's all kinds of things I used to call weeds that now are like, I see them as like, oh, that the chickens will love that. Oh, the bunny's gonna get some of that. Like all of it just, and the other thing is too, when the chickens, you know, escape, and I got one or two little hens bopping around the backyard like that, or they go to eat coincidentally, the weeds, what I called weeds. They choose those first. That's right. I have no weeds. Permaculture has removed all weeds from my life. It transformed them, transmuted weeds. Permaculture transmutes poop into mangoes. Okay? That's all I need to say. Case closed. I dropped the mic. Hey, Jessica. Thank you for the hearts. I do appreciate it. Look at this little cart. Look at this little cart. Oh, no. Oh, no. It's already getting rusty. Yeah, that's magic. That's a certain sort of magic. You know, I go, what can you do? What can you do? Well, I can turn poop into mangoes. I mean, I can't take all the credit, but I'll take some of it. New tools. Yeah, this is a game changer tool, but I can see it's already trying to turn back into dust. Red dust, iron, rust. That is 2 months of wear and tear outside. We're living on the beach, folks. And it is rusty. Everything that is metal returns to rust as fast as possible. That's the rule of the beach. You accept it or you forever feel bummed. Just don't get too attached to anything metal. That's what I recommend to everybody I know here. Oh, Bobert has the magical power as well. Yes, we could consider ourselves here in the permaculture universe something of superheroes in our own story, with magical powers to manifest not just transmutation of poop into mangoes, but transmutation of compost bins into hen nests. How you doing, sweet girl? How you doing? Are you getting ready to lay an egg in there, or are you just resting? I think you're just resting, but I'm going to search this for an egg later. I mean, she said, I got to lay my eggs somewhere. This looks like a beautiful big nest. Look at it. Any part of that seem unnatural? Yeah, that's pretty amazing, actually. You go down to Tractor Supply, you get one of those little critters for about 50 cents sometimes. That's a lot of value in 50 cents. Alan Watts talked about this phenomenon of the golden goody. The golden goody. You know, and it's really the thing of what has value. It's an interesting question. You know, what's the illusion? What's the actual thing? What's just an idea and what is the substance? The golden goody, we all seek the golden goody. Man, I can't wait for the golden goodies to start, you know, what do I seek? I'm seeking some delicious mango soon, some tasty coconuts, some yummy bananas, maybe some wonderful papaya. All golden goodies. All golden goodies. And when you have a poop loop, permaculture loop, animal component, we call it a poop loop because, let's face it, without the animals in it, you got out of there? Oh, you didn't like it when I walked away from you. Yeah. But, you know, without the animal in the loop, the animal component, as many of my permaculture friends say, you're not going to have as much success. I mean, because that is not natural, right? That's not how the world works. Like, most of how the world works, believe me, you don't need to do anything. You just need to set up the conditions for it to work. That's basically permaculture. You know, which is why this whole soil health thing is so interesting to me. Restoring a system where now I can pick up a log, a thing anywhere, you know, when it's wet out and it just rained, and I'm going to see worms all over. I can go all throughout my yard and show you examples of fungus. I can go all throughout my yard and show you examples of life thriving. And it's not so much that I've done anything other than I'm just going to provide the conditions. Oh, have the neighbors complained about the chickens yet? Yeah, that is a great question, Peter. That is something I am incredibly worried about, and that I really, really don't want to be annoying to my neighbors. And they have not complained about it. In fact, I had a couple of neighbors actually say to me, the only input I've gotten is, like, I've told them, oh, I have chickens, you know, you want some eggs? I was like, really? You have chickens? I never heard them. Now, the neighbor just on the other side of the fence might feel a little different, but I haven't heard any complaints yet. Thankfully, in my location, we get a permit and there's a process, so you know, there's regulations and how far the coop can be from the fence, and when you can let them out, and what kind you can have, and all this kind of stuff. So it's regulated, but I mean, you know, if you listen to the sound, the chicken sound, there's one chicken making sound. Let's listen. Here's the chicken. And they're right here. We hardly hear them. They make these sounds, but you know, if you don't like the sounds of hen cooing, I'm confused. Because I find it to be incredibly calming. And then they make these sounds that are just like, yeah, really disturbing, but they don't make them that often. And you know, if you compare it to like the sound of a dog barking occasionally, like, you know, these hens are obviously, or the other birds. Listen to it. I'm sure you can hear that bird. Beautiful bird sounds occurring naturally all the time. You realize if you listen for a while, this is a great meditation thing, of course. I meditate a lot, and I like to do that. Auditory, you know, part of meditation, to sink into the senses of your ears. Really listen. If you listen, man, these birds are, not these chickens so much, but all the other birds. We've got these things in my neighborhood called Screecher Parrots. You ever heard of Screecher Parrots? Screecher Parrots are these large parrots, green, beautiful green parrots that flock together and sit on power lines, and they screech. They do nothing but screech loudly. So if you have them come sit on your power line, you're bumming. Yeah, noisy wild parrots, right? And those things compared to these chickens are a nightmare. But these chickens, yeah, they don't really make that much noise. The part that makes me nervous the most is when they lay the egg, and they will, you know, do some clucking. But the clucking during the egg announcement it just lasts for a period of time, like no longer than 30 seconds, and it's over. And it typically happens after about 9 o'clock, before 11. It's like in a predictable, normal part of the day. And by that point, I think most people are, hey, Treasure Outdoors, great to see you. Hope everything is going well for you. Stoked to see you on the stream. Mulberry growing aficionado, Treasure Outdoors. Gold treasure seeking adventurer of the western shores of our fine sandy peninsula. So yeah, bottom line is, Peter, I would say that, you know, these birds, the noise level has been acceptable, but yes, I continue to be neurotic about it, in the sense that I don't want to be a bad neighbor. I don't say that from some virtue signaling position. I don't want the hassle of being a bad neighbor. It's just not, the drama is too much. I didn't do it. But so far so good. Look at these hens. What do they got to be noisy about? They're sitting up on natural roosting perch. And I tell you the truth, I think most people, if they heard these hens, they hear the or whatever, the, you know, the weird noises they make, you don't even notice it because it kind of blends in with all the other bird sounds, which are pretty loud. And my yard, by the way, when I first moved here, my yard had practically nothing in terms of birds or insects or anything. It was just a grass lawn. Yeah, it sounds great. That's why I just come out here and meditate, just sit here and relax and let the mosquitoes sting me and meditate. That's another interesting kind of meditation, is mosquito meditation. Very useful, by the way, I would say. Until you get some mosquito-borne disease. Hasn't happened yet, as far as I know. Look at that. I'm gonna pick my shoe. Uh-oh, tennis ball. Give me an egg. I sit on it. But yeah, it's a very peaceful, serene place out here. And I'll tell you another great benefit. I talk about this a lot, but it's not just about the utilitarian aspect of permaculture and growing stuff in your backyard, making your backyard your own little, you know, utopia. It's about the fact that everybody that you know is going to want to be there too. Really, I found. You know, my whole family loves to be out here. It adds an element of richness and complexity to our life that was already there, but we just didn't know it. And you know, I feel like it's a much more natural way to kind of be than maybe the normal patterns of modern life, and that, you know, people have been interacting with ground fowl and growing stuff and for a lot longer than we've been doing anything else, like, you know, sitting in front of computers or whatever. So why are you so loud? Oh, I know why she is. Sometimes, you know, here's the thing, you won't be a chicken whisperer, I would say. And that is to know when your chickens are complaining for a reason. I'm gonna go with the theory here. Yeah, chick chick, yeah, chick chick, come on, chick chick, come on, chick chick, come on, chick chick, watch, come on, chick chick, yeah, chick chick. Yeah, go to the front of the cage and see if that she wants to go back in and get a drink of water. I bet. Now she has water in another spot, but I think she likes to. She's coming. Come on, chick chick. Yeah, chick chick. Yeah, chick chick. And also, chickens operate on chicken time. So you see, she didn't get here like right away, but she got here. You can't expect they're gonna like always run to you like a dog, but they will. You know, they're just chicken time is a little slower and it's a little faster. They get distracted. In you go. You like my wiggly chicken fence? It's just a bent piece of wire, bent piece of chicken fence that I've folded in here, and it kind of pressure fits in there by bowing it. And I have a very fancy latch. Of course, works very well on that screw mechanism. Yeah, so I'd recommend the chickens. You know, I was wondering how I'd like them. And we love them. But especially Jack. My son Jack is very, 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 very into the chickens, and he likes the chickens more than the rabbits, which is understandable because they're so attentive. Whereas rabbits, you know, you kind of get the impression they're not that into you. Check out Penelope. Figured we'd go back in and do the quick Penelope cam. See what's in the day, the life of an eat your backyard rabbit. What you doing, Penels? Taking a nap? Little known fact is rabbits can sleep with their eyes open. Hey. Yeah, sometimes she'll hop over to me to say hi. And see, she is a white rabbit, which means, and she's got the pinkish in her eyes. That means she has the albinism gene in her, which is interesting. See, I wonder how much it would, you know, whether it'd be okay for her to be out in the sun much or whatever. But yeah, she'll generally lay in the shade naturally. But what I read was it doesn't hurt them really, you know, to be out in the sun occasionally. It's just like, you know, they're gonna naturally not want to be in the. Look at that. She's eating some of that lemongrass. See, I try to put everything together so that it's a system that connects to other systems. I love doing that. It's part of the joy I get out of this. Hey, James Tropicals, great to see you. Welcome from the Northlands. I harvested some lemongrass seeds recently from one of these seed pods, and you see this one's getting ready to produce the seeds again. Got a lot of seeds, so plan on really been getting into seed collection and germinating them again. So another cyclical thing, which of course we all want to do, which is have an ability to grow the seeds. Now the interesting thing is that this pigeon pea got schwacked by that cold weather. I didn't expect it would, but a lot of the branches dropped off, but I mean a lot of the leaves dropped off, but you can see it's just got tons of shoots on it, so I just am sure it's going to come back like a champ. Just kind of tied that one back with a rope a bit because it was flopping over, and the reason that was a problem was now you can see the rope. You couldn't see the rope before when it had leaves, but the reason I tied it up was that it was too far down, and the chickens love to eat it so much they were hopping up, grabbing it, and pulling it down. And if they get it down to where they can eat it, they're just going to jump on it and devour the whole thing. So I had to put in chicken maneuvers. So you had asked, I had got a question about what's the best rabbit to get. So if you had a large yard, a large space, I would get a large rabbit, and I would specifically get something like a chinchilla breed or a Californian breed or a New Zealand. which are all known as meat rabbits, and they are excellent for meat if you want to grow them that way, but they're also excellent pet rabbits, and they produce a lot of manure. And those rabbits, all of them, will get 12 pounds or bigger. So they are big, docile, cool rabbits, which I would recommend if you have any kind of space. You need to produce the volume of manure to support the size. Okay, so I have a relatively small yard, so I didn't want to go crazy, and plus we really wanted to emphasize the pet value of these rabbits. So we ended up going with the more pet style rabbits, which are these lion head rabbits. One of many styles of rabbits, but they're a known type of rabbit that'll do fine in Florida. And what I mean do fine in Florida is want to make sure all the animals are the types of animals that I get are the types of animals that are made to exist in this climate range. You know, it gets pretty darn hot here. So, you know, it's like, well, I had somebody ask me, what do you do with the rabbits when it gets cold? And it's like, I don't know, what do rabbits normally do when it gets cold? I mean, I could tell you some things I do, but it's mostly the rabbits already did it all. They come with a fur coat, and they kind of, you know, get close to each other, and they do what they do. But the other thing is, you know, I'll put a tarp over the cage. I do things to keep them warm, keep it warm with the lights there. But yeah, they're fine in the conditions here. But same with the chickens, the heat and the cold, not just the cold. I mean, cold in Florida is not that severe, let's face it, but the cold is nothing compared to the heat. Can they survive in the heat? And they can. I get a little worried about the chickens, but I mean, not the chickens, they're fine. They're in a shady area that gets a lot of sea breeze back there, so they're never really hot. The bunnies could get hot back here, but I built, recently I finished it, which was this large, you know, basically covered roof, covered areas. So now that reduced the temperature in here drastically. I also do things like this. I've recycled this many fun days at the beach with this raft, which is sawed in half. I just use it as a thing to prevent water from coming in when we get a heavy rain, and also to prevent wind when there's a heavy east wind or whatever. So it's been useful. I'll probably roll it up when it's not being used and they get a lot of air. But I've also built everything I have to facilitate maximum airflow. So you can see all the walls, the ceiling are all cage. So it's nowhere it's going to get stagnant, lots of airflow. But I have a way to cut off the airflow, which is like with this tarp. It's been cold here, and that's why I have the tarp over it. You know, we put the tarp over the top in the evenings, and they stay nice and warm in there. Yeah, look at that. Sweet, sweet Penelope. You know, I was watching those live streams of all the stuff going on up in Canada, and fascinating. But this is a kind of live stream too. This is also going on. You know, if the truck stopped rolling and you needed to have the food out of your backyard, though, having those hens there and having the amount of crops I have in the yard so far, we could survive food-wise for some amount of time. And I'm not saying that scenario presents itself, but I like the idea that I'm capable of doing that. Not so much that it would ever even be used. I like the feeling it gives me to know that I'm capable of putting some systems together that produce what is needed. I like that. I think that's good for you, you know, on whatever level. Doesn't even have to be about the food. Look at that bunny. She is a year old, like a couple weeks, about a month ago. So she's just a little tiny, teeny bunny. Not that old. Bunny teenager. The bunnies, though, if you were thinking of getting like bunnies or chickens in terms of just making your plants grow well, I'd go with the bunnies every time. Just because the bunnies are so simple. Talk about noise to your neighbors. No one would even know there are bunnies back here. You're so quiet. Yeah, the garden helps you reconnect with quite literally what's exactly under your feet. Yeah, I totally agree. Do we have any? Okay, Peter asks. Well, first of all, Saltio78 said, do you have any sugarcane press? And presser. Is there one you recommend? And I do not have a sugarcane presser. Years ago, I shopped for a sugarcane presser to press things like this beautiful Florida red sugarcane. But look at this, how the wax is on there. See how you can polish it and it turns into this beautiful shiny stuff. There are a number of sugarcane presses on Amazon. I couldn't believe it. And other places. There's such a variety of them now to be able to access. I don't know what the good one is. I'd probably just start looking through the reviews if I was going to get one. And I've thought of getting one because I did plant much more sugarcane this year. Primarily planted much more sugarcane for the purpose of feeding these bunzos the leaves as hay. Sugarcane makes great hay to feed the rabbits. So, you know, I've got to actually go buy another little small package of hay for the rabbits. Rabbits require constant hay in their diet, you know, because they're rabbits. And, well, sugarcane's one way to provide it for yourself, but that whole self-sufficiency thing, if there was no pet store, how do you get Timothy hay in Florida? Well, not so easy. But rabbits will eat crabgrass. They love to eat any kind of grass. They'll eat, you know, sugarcane leaves, which is a type of grass. So those rabbits could almost at this point be 100% fed only from my yard. That presents an interesting possibility, really. Now the hens, I wouldn't have enough to keep them 100% fed. They do, you know, require some kind of other food to come in. Mostly, I could almost probably feed them just with the food scraps that my family produces. Certainly if it was, I have 2 kids that are off in college, but when we had 6 in the family, we could easily have fed all these chickens with simply food scraps. I'm pretty confident in that, which is another really cool, fun part of having chickens, is the part where you come out to feed them. If you don't think they like to be fed, then you haven't seen this happen yet. Yeah, chick, chick. Yeah, chick, chick. Yeah, chick, chick. Yeah. Sorry. Oops, I shouldn't do that. Tease them. So yeah, the update. This is where we're at so far. Off to a good start this year. Had a little setback with the freezing temperatures, but won't be long before it's macking again. Like I said, stay tuned for some upcoming videos, more or less 15-minute long videos regarding some of the stuff we talked about here that go in a little bit more depth. I'm sure I didn't miss any of the comments. Oh, yeah, I see one here from Peter. Do you have any plants that attract butterflies? Oh, absolutely I do. So many plants that attract butterflies. There was one point where Jack could get butterflies to land on his hand. I don't even know how that's possible. But there's so many butterflies back here, and they definitely focus in on certain plants. I'm going to tell you that the Muntingia seems to be their all-time favorite. That's the Jamaican cherry. It's a very fragrant. It's covered in this like sticky, sappy stuff that smells really good. A lot of flowers, a lot of white flowers. Right now, not so much. And I actually haven't seen many butterflies lately, but we get a lot of butterflies back here. And they also like the plumeria. Yeah, so I haven't specifically planted things for butterflies to be here, but I have a lot of things that end up drawing them in. Another thing are the Mexican petunias, which I have along the fence here. A number of videos about those. Those are definitely drawing the butterflies and are beautiful, but are also, you know, whatever you might call them, invasive or, you know, hard to get rid of once you plant them. Yeah, the Jaboticaba. I do not have Jaboticaba trees. I have some friends here locally that do, and they actually grow quite well in this area. Yeah, and I've heard great success stories about them. I just haven't committed to them. But you know, looks like we might have some vacancies. Maybe it's Jaboticaba time in your backyard. You gotta go find a Jaboticaba vendor, so to speak. But I'm gonna go down and check out my dude down there in Sebastian. Went to a nursery I like down there. It's like, you know, this family, their house, basically their house, but they have the whole property is like just plants around, and they have really good prices, a lot of selection. And I'm picking 2 mango trees up there, most of these Malay coconuts there, but I feel like it's a real gem. That place was called, I believe it's called A Tree for Me. So shout out to Tree for Me. Hey, Tree for Me, if you see this video, leave me a comment. Let me know what's going on. But I'm going to be shooting back down your way here soon. I have to put a governor on my credit card when I go to that spot, though. Just because I'm like a kid in a candy shop. And I believe Jaboticaba, that location, would be more likely than more around up here where I am, which is a bit farther north. I almost bought another Muntingia tree. I'm just crazy about those things, but you know, how many is too many? The thing is, you find the thing that grows and grows well, and you know how to do it. You kind of mastered it. You know the conditions that affect it and how to optimize. It's hard not to plant it everywhere. And I just don't want to be that guy because I want the diversity. I want a variety of things. So I've got to resist the urge, like especially when I see a good deal. I saw a good deal. It's like a $39 super healthy Muntingia tree at a place called Rockledge Nursery, which is not too far from here. And man, it's just beautiful. And it's exactly like the one I bought from there not too long ago. This one, that was about 2 years ago, and I've been just trimming it, and it's beautiful, healthy, and wow. But I resisted the urge. And in fact, and I'll tell you, I resisted the urge, but last time I was there, they had a whole bunch of like pretty tall, decent size Pakistani mulberry trees, and I was like, maybe I should get one. You know, I was like debating it. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. It was like a $50 tree. It seemed a little expensive for a mulberry or whatever, so I was being cheap. And I slept on it. I said, maybe later they'll have them. Came back. I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to get the Muntingia. I'll get one of those Pakistani mulberries. I'm going to splurge and finally get a 6-inch mulberry fruit tree. Those things are so bizarre. I love it. Now they're gone, sold out. All they had were ever-bearing mulberries, which I love, but I already have plenty of those. So, missed out. You snooze, you lose. Go on a cruise. All right, so thanks for watching. I'm stoked you were on board with me. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you like this kind of content. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Plan on live streaming tomorrow, Sunday morning. And don't forget, pick it, plant it, grow it, and eat your backyard. Thanks for watching. Evie.